What's up, everybody? We miss y'all so much. You are back with your favorite two hosts, Mian and Corey, with another episode of Tea and Worship.
That's right. And every season, we make sure that we give you the best content because you are the best. Now, we need you to continue to watch our show, but you got to make sure that you're following us on Instagram at The Hope TV.
Correct.
And make sure you're watching us every Friday night. At what time, Minnie?
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Exactly, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, right now, before you do anything else, hit that bell. You see that bell right there? And hit that like button, hit that subscribe. What you thinking about the show, just talk back to us. Say something. Talk about Minnie if you want to. You know, just go ahead and do whatever you want to. But Minnie, let's go ahead and get into this good show.
Prayer, a woman of purpose, and she is a woman of worship. So let's show a Tea and Worship love to our guest today, Joviata Shepard. Good to see you.
So good to see you and to be here,
Welcome.
sir.
So glad to have you.
Thank you.
Hopefully, just kind of share with our viewers who Joviata is.
Sure. So first of all, I want to say thank you to Mignon and House of Hope for even putting this platform on. This gives us more than an amazing opportunity to share our love and our passion for Jesus Christ. Joviata Shepard is simply a worshiper. Have been doing this for a while now in terms of like my profession. I didn't even know it could be a profession. Like your love for God could turn into an open door profession. But I really just love God and I want to help it aspire. Been leading worship for over 10 years now. I serve at Change Church. Shout out to Change Church and Dr. Darius Daniels and Shamika Daniels, amazing pastors who have literally nurtured me to this level of excellence. So I love them. I'm also a PK. We got that honest. I felt like I was birthed in church. And so with that being said, I have a lot of history in terms of being in church, gospel music, being around the who's who of gospel. And so what is now whoever I am.
A woman of purpose, that's who you are.
Listen, in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name.
Now, we know that you are like an amazing worshiper, but when Joviata did music actually become something that you felt like was a passion for you?
Oh, man. So I'd have to go back to all the way to high school. So my mom felt the calling on her life to start the church, and I literally had no clue. We were gifted. When my grandfather saw that we could sing, my brother and my sisters, when he felt like we could harmonize, it ended our childhood. So summers where people were enjoying their summer, he had us, without the abuse part, but we couldn't go nowhere. So he had us singing from then. So I knew I loved, to sing, but it really got real for me in high school where I was like, God, I don't know what I'm doing. There were no books, there were no resources. The closest, and this is how far, I'm probably at the age of myself. I went to a Ron Canoli. I went to a Ron Canoli conference, our storefront church, and we were beginning in the house. It was they were teaching me about worship chords and all that stuff. So I got so frustrated, and I just threw the books down. I was like, God, you have to teach me what this is about. And so I remember fasting literally and praying. It's probably the most spiritual moment of my life, just encountering God. And I would just read and pray and have authentic encounters with him. And he was like, this is what this means. This is what worship is for real. It's not the singing. That's a way of worshiping, but it's not worship with value to God. And so the devotionals and my fasting and my prayer time with God is no, now you're living a life of worship. And so now I can use your gift to do this. And so that's really when it got real for me. Just encountering God, and I promise you, my Bible, I still have my Bible, my saint. It's breaking apart. I don't know where the first.
Like the Bible.
Listen, I like to flip my pages. It's marked up. I can't find. My Bible started at Genesis 33 or 23. We can't find the other stuff. So I often talk to Pastor about that. He was like, I said my Bible's falling apart. He was like, yeah. Often when people's Bibles are falling apart, it means that their life is not.
Ooh,
and so that was always, I was like, oh, yeah.
So
but yeah, I grew close to God in that, and literally that has helped me to make the wisest decisions for my life, understand the difference between artistry and ministry, and hone in to like, what is God calling me specifically to do? That was important time. So from high school, I was just building a relationship with the Holy Spirit. What do I sing? How do I sing? And so with my mom, I didn't even know all this music was out. And I would just write. So she would preach and I would just write music for the house, just write songs. Like it was, I'm telling you, like it would just happen. And so that literally birthed this, you know, excitement for worship and connecting people to the presence of God. That was my turning point to let me know, like, this is a real situation.
My
beautiful.
goodness.
Yeah.
I have to ask this because
Sure.
I'm learning that we both were PKs
Yeah.
and all of that. So in my house, we couldn't play spades.
Oh,
We couldn't
L
listen
to the
to,
G.
we had to sneak. The only time we heard anything outside of gospel was when
Yeah.
we was with somebody else.
Oh.
Was you the same way?
It was the same way. Our first Christmas was when I was in like the 9th grade. I had to be in high school. We would listen to stuff like R&B and stuff like that. So my mom wasn't really strict. The church we were in was
Okay.
a little bit more strict than what my mom, you know, would allow us to do. And we were really great, like coming up. So I didn't receive that in the house as much as we got it. Like we couldn't snap our fingers
Ooh,
in
wow.
church. Like we was like,
Really?
what are you doing? Like it was just, yeah, we don't do that, you know, that
Wow.
kind of thing. We don't celebrate Christmas. And then we started, as we grew, we like, okay, well, what's wrong with it? And like biblically,
Yeah.
so that as we grew, we started to kind of like grow in faith and really start to measure some of the things, the guidelines and boundaries that they which would normally be like a restriction, which is try to weigh those. Like, hey, what's wrong with it, you know?
Yeah.
And if God is instilled in you and your faith is instilled in you, then, you know, you should be matured enough to kind of like take the meat, spit out the
Yeah.
bones. And so our cousins introduced such a stuff. So we thought we was cutting
Them
up.
cousins will do
Literally,
it.
they were just trying to keep us relevant.
Cousins
But
will
we were
do
the
it.
church kids,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And growing up, one thing I absolutely loved about those healthy boundaries is our friends knew who to come to for help and prayer.
That's
and
awesome.
so they respect, it's like if you wasn't going to church, you was out of pocket,
out
you
of
know?
order.
So nowadays, it's completely different.
It's so different.
It is so
It's so
different. But
different.
yeah, the restrictions were definitely there.
Yeah.
Definitely there.
So I know we don't, we have very little time,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to ask you about this album that you just released.
Ooh, so it's not an album. I don't want to set nobody's expectations, Mignon. Like, they've been asking for an album, and honestly, because I've been so ministry focused, my call and my heart beats to raise other leaders of worship, because the houses are always going to need them. So I'm for the Levite, I'm for the leader raising other leaders. And so I came out of that season where it was like, oh, you got to drop this, you got to do this, you have to do. I was like, yeah, but after I come to someone's, house to minister, their praise and worship still needs to be there. Like pastors still need to come up into be able to minister in atmospheres that are set. And so when I started to see that deficit and started to hear the hearts of bleeding pastors, like, I gotta tread water, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because the ground was not set, it's like, man, that hit my heart. So if they want to catch me, I'm on YouTube. You can, every worship thing that we do at our church, you can catch our Change Worship channel and or my channel. So I try to provide a lot of the worship experiences there. I
absolutely.
did, though, release a single, which I'm super, super excited about, with Isaiah Templeton. And he's a
Bananas.
maniac.
Yeah.
He is
He is.
like,
Pretty much.
he's everything I think that I can do. Like, he's my vocal man. But the way that boy is singing on this song is ridiculous. And so I wanted to release something to our generation, urban, cultured. It's a bop. We got drip for it. So like, it was fun. And so we wanted to create what Tim Bowman kind of coined as a worship movement. And I love what Maverick is doing. It's a whole situation.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of like take that a little bit further and create a worship challenge for
Yeah.
worship teams to get them involved to a certain degree. So Tim heard the song and he was like, yeah, Joe, this is a whole movement. I was like, what? I had no vision for it. And so I hit Zeke. I was like, hey, bro, would you mind doing me a little favor? I don't ask for favors. So when he texted back, I was like, oh my God, it worked. So he definitely did it. And so that's called You Are Jesus. That's available everywhere now. The video is, God is doing some exceptional things with it. The album is kind of like, you know, we'll see. There are a couple of producers that I want to work with, and just certain things that I want to release in terms of like worship that I think will be really, really good for us. So we'll see where it takes us. But so I'm not saying no, but I'm definitely.
For you.
That's right.
I'm like, ooh, it's coming.
All right, well, I want y'all to just don't go anywhere. Stick right here because we will be right back with more Tea and Worship with Joviata Shepard.
Have a bone-in pork shoulder. And look, we're gonna be cooking that in our Instapot. So you guys got your Instapots ready? Let's cook.
If you love them enough to relearn math so you can teach them math, then surely you'll check NHT right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Our audience is primarily over the age of 50. What are the best ways for this age group to nourish their skin?
To the basics. Simplicity. I celebrate simplicity. I think sometimes we make things a little bit too complicated. You can really like feed your skin fruits and vegetables.
What's going on, everybody? We are back with Tea and Worship with Mignon and Corey, and of course, our special guest, Joviata Shepard. And Joviata, I just want to ask you, so I read over time that you've evolved from an urban contemporary gospel artist to a contemporary Christian praise and worship leader. And I'm sure that you will continue to evolve, of course, but how do you make sure that ministry is not in a box when you're creating records?
Man, that's so good. I think our faith is not boxy. Like God is not in a box. And I think every time faith, like, is level to level, glory to glory. And so because our faith is evolving, it's causing us to grow as well. And so my pastor says it like this: if the new you doesn't argue with the old you, then you haven't really grown. And so for me, this is Doctor. This is why I'm under the man, because no, it's not that he's just like he's a wordsmith, but the stuff that he releases helped me to mature and to even argue with some old jaded perspectives. Boxes are for religion. And faith is limitless, right? So when we think about evolution, the more we fall in love with God, I don't care what the label is, contemporary worship, gospel, CCM, like whatever the label is, that's man-made, that's system-based. Life is just to keep evolving with God. The more I learn about him, the deeper in love I fall with him. That means it produces a different sound. So the sound doesn't get tired, the sound doesn't get old, the writing doesn't get old. God is constantly doing a new thing. So that scripture that we re-release, that's over 200,000 years ago. But that new thing is still a new thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's never not going to be. And that's how I look at worship. Like I should be, there was a book that I read that described the angels and the cherubims and seraphims in heaven. Every time they go down crying holy, when they come up, they see a new revelation of God that they had not seen before. And so this is how we should enter into worship. When I'm in the presence of God, there's a sign of him I've never seen before. There's a side of his glory that I never. So when I come into his presence, when it's just me and him, of course there's gonna be a new revelation of him, but as I'm seeing that, I'm also seeing a new revelation of me. More humility, more character, more glory. So that doesn't get old. So artists today, the point of the matter for us as Christians, we can't get boxed into the system. We should continuously be evolving. And so that takes, it will never get old. Worship will never get old. It will always be in popular demand because people need the presence of God.
Yes.
And so as long as we are committed to constantly evolving, constantly out of God, we're always going to constantly produce things that is going to be a fresh breath of like a rhema and revelation for that generation and for that time. I honestly believe that. So system can say, when I saw Kiki next to like a Dottie Peoples and this was gospel, I was like, okay, yeah, gone is the day where, you know what I mean? Like they don't even know how to differentiate us.
Yeah.
And so if we stay stuck into a man system, a worldly system, then we're governed by that.
Right.
So the label thing is for the labels. It's for the people who need a category. But the presence of God is limitless. So I can go in on a quartet song, I can go in on a Caribbean song. We can experience the presence of God. And for me, that's the focus. It's not, a man-made label and that's what boxes us in. Because how can I attach myself to this label and only evolve that way? Well, you could have birthed something new that the generation needed, but because that's anti the theme or anti the label, then it becomes something completely different. And so I would hear that from plenty of artists that would mentor me. It's like, man, I feel so boxed. It's like, gone is the day for that. People need the presence of God. And so that may be produced through a love song. It could be produced through a worship song. It could be, so it's like however people fall in love with God, let's do what God is saying and not be so stifled by what the labels that's the wave that we're in right now.
I have to say this, like if you guys want to experience God through song, if you want to experience his presence, and I'm gonna have her share her how you can follow her and all that later. But if you really want to experience God through music, please follow.
In a few seconds.
I mean,
Doesn't take long.
I remember experiencing you at I think it was one of Josiah's events, and I had heard you before, but it was just something about that moment. It was something about that night when you got up there and took that mic, the entire room shifted.
Thank you, God.
And you commanded everybody's attention. You commanded every demon. You commanded everything to stop where it was. You know, if it wasn't supposed to be there, it had to leave. And you can tell that you dwell in God's presence. And so I just want to say thank you for being true to who God is.
That is so honorable,
and
Mignon.
really showing the world and not afraid to share who God is to you. And I want to piggyback off that and say, what makes it important, or can you share with the world why is it important to be in a place that you're planted?
Oh my goodness. Wow.
The hype.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I really want to stress to people the importance of whatever type of music you're doing, whatever type of business you're in. A healthy devotional life with God is going to be the success of whatever you do, because that causes you to sink or swim. My connection, my communion, my connection with God it's got to be that over anything that I can produce. We need God to do the works of God. We need God to work for God and to do the works of God. And so I released the Devo, which I think is bigger than a record, because 90%, I went to a church to poll the workers in the church. Hey, how often do you pray? How often do you really read it? Now, these are people who are getting paid by the church. You know what, Joe, I really don't have a good connection. And I'm like, man, take this Devo. You're doing the works of God and for without God. How?
Right.
So that right there is essential to me. So you can check it out. It's on on the YouVersion Bible app. It's one of the most blessed things I probably could seed into the earth this year. Seriously, if I die, I'm good that way. But to go back to your question about being planted, I had, when I came into ministry, we were Kingdom at the time, and I knew this was God because I never saw myself come out of my mom's ministry. And it's like, no, this was ministry for me. So for God to open up that door, I never had gone, this is my first mega ministry, all that kind of stuff. I didn't even know mega existed. It was just, we were just in our little bubble. And so when my mom nurtured me into a good leader, but I wasn't a good Christian. It's like we knew faith, we knew the Holy Spirit, we knew like all of these principles, but we weren't taught on love. Like there were no series on love. There was no, there were series on delivery, but like grace, love, that you can operate and flourish. God doesn't want you to operate in lack and all that kind of stuff. And like I learned. So it was like, man, that's when I knew that I was planted in the right place. The other thing was, as I began to grow in a healthy way, not only did I grow spiritually, but the other areas of my life started flourishing. So anytime a seed is planted and rooted in the ground, if we go back to that scripture where it's like, there was seed planted and the sun scorched it. But if you look at all of those instances, there was some budding. But none of them flourished until it got into the proper ground. So I realized in my life, like, man, that would happen to me. And there are people who are seeded into the wrong churches, and they're starting to think like, yo, this blessing has happened to me, but you're not flourishing. So what does flourishing look like for me spiritually? Like my faith is at a place. Relationally, my faith, my life are prospering, then I'm flourishing. But what I found from before and after, it's like, man, spiritually I was here, but relationally I sucked. Like I was a horrible daughter because I was all ministry. Horrible wife because I was all ministry. So when I started to see that these areas in my life, all of these areas, because these 4 areas primarily bring you into purpose. So when I started to see stuff like that to flourish, well, we hit a place, my husband was like, man, we got more than we thought. Like, we're good financially, like we can actually do some more stuff. It was like, wow, that took off stress. Health was up. We hit our health goals. Spiritually, we're like, hey, this is what we want to do. Because every year we fast like before the top of the new year, and we literally tell our year what's gonna happen. Financially, this is what we want to see. I want to make $20,000 more than I did. I want 5 more, like we just stated. And we believe God. And before, literally, this is no lie, before we get to the middle of every year, we've seen half of our stuff already met. But that's because I'm in a house, I'm in soil that I'm absolutely seeing these areas of my life flourish.
That's beautiful.
That's the importance of making sure that you're planted and soiled in the right place.
My goodness. Look, y'all, there is more to come. I hate going to commercials, but there's more to come with our guest, Joviata Shepard. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You better not go.
For Friends in the Book podcast, reading and reviewing the conversation by Hill Harper. If you have any desires to be in a relationship, to be married, I think it is a must that you have a conversation.
I think too, he talked about in the book being honest in your communication. Say one about how she's looking, and instead of being honest with that about her partner, she'll say like, does this dress make me look fat? And I think both men and women need to tap into be honest.
Every day,
Millions of people
are connecting.
Father,
cosplayer,
Mentor.
actor. It's time we take a step forward, come together,
and discover
how accepting our differences can make us stronger.
And so home health care, I want to give you some words to share with our community.
Well, home health care meets you where you are, all home. And we're there to provide the skilled care that you need to get you back to where you're able to do the things you used to do.
All right, everybody, we are back with more Tea and Worship with Mignon and Corey and our special guest. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, it's so many different things. It's like so rich, so layered. It's just.
When I tell you I don't even like this question because it makes me feel like I'm not a Christian when I have to answer it, but I will be authentic in saying, so my top, so vocally, I'm gonna have to say Celine Dion, I'm gonna have to say Brandy, I'm gonna have to say Beyonce, I love Pink, and I love Kelly Clarkson. Like those are like,
Pick some good
vocally, vocal, and so but my preferred tone is like so anti that. It's like an India Arie,
Yeah, I hear that.
and those are like my go-to. Yeah, those are the people that I'm listening to be very honest. It's not one time that I throw on old Celine Dion stuff and just watch her
Can't go wrong.
gracefully pace and work her tones and her upper register. So many male leaders. It was hard for me to find, like that's probably the toughest challenge for me
Yeah.
then, like growing up. I had to watch Yolanda, then I had to get Grace from CC. Like I had to, and then appreciate Darlene Check and her beautiful moments and highs. So it took a while of just absorbing that in terms of ministry. Like what is my ministry delivery moment? And so I had to watch these people, and then I saw a Kim Walker pop out and a Lauren Daigle and what's my other girl, Steffi G.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you can be aggressive and still love Jesus and it not be crazy. Okay, Steffi. So I'm just everything is a classroom to me.
Yeah.
If I'm there, I am learning
That's
a
awesome.
lot. And so I never leave that posture of a student, but that I would just listen to. And we know the greats. Like
Right.
Yeah.
I have a respect for them. But in terms of my reach and what really what I became a student after, I would say those.
Gotcha.
Now you work with one of gospel's greats,
Oh my! Oh my!
Todd Galbraith.
Yes.
Can you
The
share?
son of the king.
No, it's like
God, this story's so crazy. That was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
To be honest, again, we want the presence,
Yeah.
we want the glory, we know what our end goal is gonna be. And so his energy that he brings, he has an incredible ministry of so just to be a part of that, to also receive of that, has really, really been life-giving. And then he shows up. He's professional. He's, you know what I mean? So he knows his stuff. And so a lot still kind of like, yeah, let's try that. I see him simplify.
Yeah.
And that caused me to learn. It's like, hey, no, it's a reason why this
that.
worked.
Yeah.
It's like all these changes and stuff that you try. Yeah, it's the reason why singing to this track works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, so I stay in that seat of a student, and it's been really, really incredible. Like to be around him and to really minister with him and to enjoy moments. We have some crazy moments.
yes,
like,
y'all do.
yeah.
I said this just ain't
It don't
right.
make sense.
This ain't fair.
Well, I don't do this segment because I know we're going to get into some more things about what you have coming up, but we want to do our favorite segment, which is called Church That Hook. So if you're not, you know about it. See, Church That Hook, for those that don't know, is where we have our guests to actually church up a song that's not a traditional church song.
Wow.
And church it up any way you want to, Jovita. It can be gospel, CCM, you can quartet it, it's really up to you. But just church it up anyway,
All right,
okay?
here we go.
So the first song that we have, that we pulled out the hat, is Anita Baker's Sweet Love.
Wow. I'm trying to remember the chorus now.
That's it.
I don't know the words though.
That's all right. I'm in love, sweet love.
Ooh, this is tough. Well, y'all done prepared me for this. This game is crazy. I thought y'all was gonna hit me with the Terrell situation, fill in the blank. This is bad.
Well, y'all can see she stumped like me.
We got her.
If they give me a song,
We got her.
they gotta prepare me for something like that because I don't know no R&B.
doesn't.
I'm a church girl.
She doesn't.
But this before we go out, I want you to just reiterate where they can go and find your music and how
Absolutely.
they can follow you and all that good stuff.
Cool. So if you are not already following me, which probably half of y'all are not, thank you for doing that. You can find me. My name is Joviata Shepard, Jovita Shepard. I'm on IG, Instagram. I'm on Facebook. And I am on YouTube, so you can go ahead and become a subscriber. You can also download the Seek and Seven devotional, which is on YouVersion. I definitely want you guys to check that out. If you don't even go to the music side, go to YouVersion Bible app and download Seek and Seven.
Awesome.
And so y'all know what time it is. Again, thank our guest, Joviata Shepard, for being with us today. And to all of our viewers and supporters, thank y'all for hanging out with us and sticking out with us and being with old Corey. Yeah, I know y'all get tired of his face. It's all right. I don't really need him. I just trying to help him out.
She does.
But thank y'all for being with us. And don't forget to like, share, follow, share your comments, all of the above. And don't forget, every Friday night here, 10 Worship with Miana Corey. And so now we're going to go to our favorite part, is our worship moment with our girl, Joviata Shepard. See y'all next time.
See you. Peace, y'all.
Be exalted, be lifted high, King of heaven, be glorified, testifies, church, that you're Jehovah, the Lord Most High. Come on, let me fill this room. So be exalted. As you lift those hands to him, say, it's just you and God in the room, King of heaven. Come on, begin to pour out your oil on the ark right now. As you You are the most. Can we take a moment and think about who he is? You are